When you hug her, be fully present. Don't rush. Let your energy speak. Calm, confident, and warm. Hold her with intention, not pressure. Match her vibe. Leave a soft whisper or smile. Make the moment linger. She won't forget how you made her feel, and that's how you stay on her mind. Not every hug is created equal, and understanding the type of hug a woman gives you is the first most powerful step in creating a lasting impression. Many men overlook the emotional and psychological layers wrapped in something as simple as an embrace. But for a woman, a hug is rarely ever just a hug. It's a form of silent communication, a pulse of energy, a moment of vulnerability, or a subtle message she may not yet have the words to express. The first thing to pay attention to is how she initiates the hug. Does she approach with open arms, hesitation, or a warm smile? Each of these starting cues tells you something. If she moves toward you confidently with open arms and steady eye contact, she's not just greeting you, she's allowing closeness. This is a green light. She's comfortable with your energy, and she's open to connection. In that moment, your response will either strengthen her sense of trust or quietly raise her guard. On the other hand, if her hug is quick, with barely any touch, or a soft pat on the back, she might be creating a boundary. It could be emotional distance, uncertainty, or discomfort. It doesn't always mean something is wrong. It just means she's testing the space between you. It's your job not to take it personally, but to observe. This type of hug is still a message, and how you handle it can determine how safe she feels around you moving forward. Then there's the lingering hug, the one where her arms stay just a few seconds longer, or her body melts into yours just slightly. That's not random. That's chemistry, connection, and comfort. She's saying, without words, "I feel good here." It might be subtle, but it's significant. It's your invitation to match her rhythm, to hold back from speaking too soon, and let your presence be felt. A woman remembers when someone understands unspoken language. That's when your touch becomes more than physical. It becomes emotional memory. Now, let's talk about emotional context. A hug during a moment of sadness is very different from a hug after a shared laugh. If she's had a hard day and reaches for you, it's not about physical attraction. It's about comfort. This is your cue to ground her. Your response should be calming, steady, and secure. No unnecessary movement, no forced words, just presence. Let her feel your breath slow down. Let her rest her emotions on your chest. She will never forget the man who gave her peace without demanding explanation. A celebratory hug, maybe after she shares exciting news, is light, bright, full of movement. She's vibrating with joy, and she wants to share that spark with you. When she hugs you in that state, mirror her energy. Show excitement, maybe spin her lightly or lift her gently if the moment feels right. These spontaneous acts don't go unnoticed. They're stored deep in her emotional memory bank as fun, freedom, happiness, and those are addictive feelings. A side hug can be tricky. It's often dismissed as just friendly, but context matters. Is she shy? Is this in public? Did she still lean in with warmth? Don't assume it's negative. Sometimes a side hug is a placeholder for what she wants, but doesn't yet feel ready for. If you treat that moment with patience and stillness, no pressure, no judgment, you send a clear signal. You're emotionally mature. You respect her pace. That earns more points than words ever could. Also, observe how tight or loose her hug is. A tight hug that pulls you in speaks of passion, longing, or emotional depth. A loose hug might reflect uncertainty or detachment. But again, don't jump to conclusions. Maybe she's testing to see if your hug feels genuine. Are your hands respectful? Are you present? Are you making it about her experience rather than your own gratification? One of the most overlooked details in a hug is eye contact before and after. If she looks into your eyes before leaning in, she's offering emotional access. If she looks into your eyes after the hug, she's looking for confirmation. Did that feel good to you too? Respond not with words, but with warmth in your gaze. Hold her eyes for a second longer. That silent exchange is where attraction grows deeper. In essence, when a woman hugs you, she's handing you a moment layered with emotions, questions, hopes, and sometimes hesitation. Your job is to read the moment, not rush it. Feel her energy, not just her arms. Respond, don't react. When you learn to understand the type of hug she offers, you begin to connect with her in a language that few ever speak, and even fewer understand. That is what makes you unforgettable. When it comes to human connection, especially between a man and a woman, presence speaks louder than words. Presence is not about physical nearness alone. It's about emotional availability, intention, and energy. When you respond to a hug or any form of affection with true presence instead of pressure, you create a space where she feels emotionally seen, heard, and most importantly, safe. And safety is magnetic. It's not about trying hard or overperforming. It's about knowing how to just be in the moment with her and for her. Too many men think they need to impress a woman with grand gestures, excessive charm, or overly passionate responses, but a woman is far more sensitive to energy than most men realize. She can feel when you're overcompensating, when your touch is laced with neediness, or when your hug is more about proving something than sharing something. That's pressure. It's subtle, but it's heavy, and it pushes her away emotionally, even if she smiles politely through it. On the other hand, presence feels light, calm, and grounded. When you hug her with presence, she feels it in her nervous system. She feels your stillness, your patience, your emotional control, and that stillness tells her, you're safe here. There's no rush, no agenda, just this moment. Presence is what allows her to relax into you. It allows her to let go of her thoughts, her guard, even just for a second, because your energy isn't asking anything of her. You're just there, and being there truly is everything. When she hugs you, don't just wrap your arms around her and think that's enough. Don't let your mind wander or think about what comes next. Be exactly where she is. Feel her breathing. Sense the tension or softness in her shoulders. Listen to the silent conversation her body is having with yours. That's what presence looks like in action. It's about being tuned in, not to what you want, but to what she's feeling. If she's nervous, your calm will soothe her. If she's overwhelmed, your groundedness will stabilize her. If she's joyful, your ease will amplify her happiness. Your ability to match her state, or gently shift it toward peace, is what turns a simple hug into an unforgettable emotional experience. And that emotional imprint is what keeps you on her mind long after the moment ends. Pressure, however, often comes from insecurity. It looks like trying too hard to impress her with how tightly you can hold her, how charming you can be in the moment, or how quickly you can turn the hug into something more. But pressure reveals a lack of patience and a need for validation. And whether or not she can articulate it, she feels it instantly. The moment pressure enters the space, the intimacy dies. She may smile, but her heart doesn't open. She may hug back, but she doesn't melt. You've become forgettable, not because you didn't do enough, but because you weren't really there. The beauty of presence is that it doesn't require you to say anything clever. You don't have to have the perfect words or the perfect timing. You just need to be real. When you hug her, breathe deeply and calmly. Don't rush to release or hold too tightly. Let her feel the silence. Let her feel you not just as a body, but as a presence. A lot of men touch women, but few actually make them feel held. That's what makes presence so powerful. It's not something she sees, it's something she feels. A man who understands presence becomes irresistible, not because he's louder or more assertive, but because he's there. In a world full of distractions, emotional unavailability, and performative masculinity, your quiet, grounded energy becomes rare. And rarity is unforgettable. It creates contrast. While others are busy trying to force chemistry, you're effortlessly allowing connection to happen. That alone can plant you deeply in her emotional memory. presence is power, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that stabilizes, the kind that allows a woman to exhale. When she hugs you and feels that kind of energy, she begins to associate you with peace, clarity, and emotional safety. That's what makes her crave your presence again. Not because you said the right thing, not because you moved the right way, but because in that moment, you offered her something she doesn't get often, your full, undivided attention, without pressure. Body language is often louder than anything you could say. In moments of connection, especially something as intimate as a hug, your body speaks volumes before your mouth even opens. A woman will always pick up on the silent signals you send through your posture, your touch, your tension, or your ease. That's why being intentional about what your body is doing matters far more than you might think. While words can be carefully chosen, body language is honest. It doesn't lie. It reveals what you truly feel, whether you're aware of it or not. When you hug her, it's not just about the motion of putting your arms around her. It's how you do it. Are your shoulders stiff or relaxed? Are your arms firm or gentle? Are your hands respectful or restless? Do you hold her with care or with control? These small, seemingly invisible details leave a deep emotional impression, and she's reading every one of them, even if she's not consciously aware of it. If you hug her like it's a task, she'll feel the disconnect. If you hug her with tension, she'll sense your anxiety or impatience. If you hold her too tight or too long in a way that disregards her comfort, it sends the message that you're focused more on your own desire than on her experience. That instantly breaks the emotional flow. It creates a subtle discomfort, a silent signal that tells her you're not fully attuned to her and that you may not be safe emotionally or physically. But when you're in tune with your body language, everything changes. A hug becomes a conversation without words. A warm, open chest and relaxed arms tell her she can trust you. A gentle pull-in signals care, not control. A still, unhurried embrace speaks volumes. It tells her you're confident, calm, and grounded, that you're not trying to prove anything. You're just there, fully, without the need to dominate the space or rush to the next moment. Your breathing, too, is part of your body language. Deep, calm breaths put her at ease. She can feel your heartbeat if she's close enough, and it matters. A fast, erratic rhythm can make her feel unsettled, while a calm, steady beat can calm her own. Women are intuitive by nature. They notice how your energy affects theirs. If you can calm the storm inside her without saying a word, you become unforgettable. Even your hands matter. Where they rest during a hug says everything. Are they too low, sending the wrong message? Are they awkward and hovering? Or are they placed with intention, gentle, still, respectful? A woman doesn't want to feel like she's being grabbed or handled. She wants to feel held, appreciated, and valued. The difference is subtle, but powerful, and when you get it right, it leaves a lasting mark. Also pay attention to the rhythm of your body, a hug that flows naturally, one that moves with her rather than against her, shows emotional intelligence. You're not rushing it, you're not forcing it. You're matching her pace, mirroring her comfort level. That's what tells her she's with someone who understands nuance, someone who knows how to be present without overwhelming. Your body positioning plays a part as well. Are you slightly leaning in or standing stiff like a statue? Do you tilt your head to rest it gently on hers? Or are you disconnected and robotic? The way you position your body can make her feel emotionally closer, or emotionally alone, even in your arms. She wants to feel like she's in a moment of shared intimacy, not simply part of a one-sided gesture. And then there's your facial expression. What does your face say while you're holding her? Are you smiling gently, looking at her like she matters? Or are you blank, distracted, or looking around? Eye contact before or after a hug, just for a moment, can amplify the emotional weight of that connection. It's not about staring, it's about presence. Your face, like the rest of your body, reflects your emotional state. If it says, "I'm here and I'm with you," she feels it deeply. What makes body language so powerful is that it bypasses logic. It goes straight to the heart. She may forget what you said, but she will never forget how your energy made her feel. And your body is the vessel through which that energy is expressed. You don't have to say a word. You just have to mean the moment. Let your body reflect calmness, confidence, and care. When your physical presence matches the emotional safety she craves, you become the kind of man who lingers in her thoughts. Not because you tried too hard, but because your body knew how to speak her language. Timing, especially in moments of physical connection, is everything. A hug is not just about how it begins, it's deeply about how it flows and, most importantly, how it ends. Knowing when to lean in, when to hold, and when to let go is an art that many overlook. But a woman never forgets a moment that was timed just right. It's not about holding on too long or letting go too soon. It's about making the moment feel just long enough to be emotionally satisfying and leave her wanting more. The mistake many people make is rushing through a hug like it's a formality, something to check off a social checklist. That kind of hug lacks presence and intimacy. It feels mechanical, and it communicates disinterest or discomfort. On the opposite end, holding on too long can create tension or awkwardness, especially if the emotional connection hasn't been fully built. When the timing is off, even the most well-meaning gesture loses its power. The hug becomes forgettable or even uncomfortable. But when the timing is right, it becomes memorable, emotionally rich, and often replayed in her mind long after it's over. To time a hug right, you have to feel the moment. Not analyze it, but feel it. That means tuning into her body language, her energy, and her comfort level. Did she lean in fully or just partially? Was there hesitation, or was her embrace full and natural? If she leaned in and let her body relax into yours, that's an invitation to hold her just a few seconds longer. Not too long, not too short. Just enough to say, I'm here, I see you, I feel you. That pause, that breath between holding and letting go, can be deeply intimate without ever crossing a line. Those few extra seconds matter. They say, you're not just another person. This moment matters. But here's the key. It can't feel forced. You're not holding on longer because you want to cling. You're doing it because the moment asks for it. There's a rhythm to these things. It's like a dance. You don't speed up the music. You move in sync with it. If you let go just when she starts to melt into you, it can feel abrupt, as if you pulled away emotionally before she was ready. And that sudden break in energy can leave her feeling cut off or rejected, even if unintentionally. On the other hand, if she's giving you a quick hug, perhaps because she's shy, unsure, or the setting doesn't allow for intimacy, respect that. Don't try to hold her longer than she's ready for. If you ignore her rhythm and insert your own, it feels like pressure rather than presence. And that damages trust. Timing it right means being respectful of both the situation and her unspoken signals. When you show her that you can read the moment and respond appropriately, she feels understood. And emotional understanding is deeply attractive. Another thing to consider is how you transition out of the hug. Letting go shouldn't be abrupt or stiff. It should feel like a gentle release, as if you're slowly opening the space back up, not dropping it altogether. A small touch on the arm, a soft look into her eyes, or a warm smile as you pull back extends the energy of the hug beyond the physical moment. It says, "This isn't over just because we stopped touching." That moment after the hug, those few seconds where you say nothing but your energy still lingers, is often what she remembers most. Think of it like this. When you give her a well-timed hug, you leave an echo. It lingers. It replays. And that echo stays in her emotional memory, far deeper than any words ever could. You don't have to say, "I care about you," because the timing of your embrace already did. You don't have to tell her she's special, because the way you stayed just long enough, without overstepping, already made her feel it. There's a fine line between not enough and too much. The sweet spot lives in your ability to pay attention. Timing it right isn't about calculating seconds. It's about reading her cues and trusting your emotional awareness. The truth is, She'll feel when your hug was perfect. Not because it was long or intense, but because it ended exactly when it was supposed to. And in that space between embrace and release, she'll start to wonder about you. She'll start to replay how it felt. And that's how you stay on her mind, long after your arms have let go. Emotions are contagious. The way you respond to someone emotionally either deepens the connection or creates distance. When it comes to physical touch, like a hug, mirroring her emotional state is one of the most powerful, subtle ways to build intimacy. It's not about imitation, it's about attunement. When you mirror her emotion, you're showing her that you see her, feel her, and understand her without needing her to explain anything. And that kind of emotional sensitivity is rare, so rare that it instantly makes you memorable. A woman doesn't want you to just react. She wants you to respond. There's a difference. Reaction is automatic. It comes from your own emotional world. But a response requires awareness. It says, I feel what you're feeling, and I'm meeting you there. That's what mirroring emotion is all about. When she comes in for a hug and she's excited, laughing, and high energy, you don't meet that with stiffness or quiet reservation. You match her joy. You hold her with lightness, with movement, with that same spark in your body. Maybe you chuckle softly in her ear. Maybe you lift her gently or spin her around. You meet her in the moment, and that match creates emotional harmony. On the other hand, if she comes to you in a quiet, tender, or even vulnerable emotional space, your energy should reflect that softness. A woman who hugs you slowly and leans into you with a heavy breath isn't asking for excitement. She's asking for grounding. And if you rush it, joke too soon, or respond with over-the-top intensity, she'll feel misunderstood, like you're in your own world while she's in hers. Emotional mismatch in those delicate moments causes disconnection, even if your intentions were good. The truth is, a woman can always sense whether you're connecting with her or performing for her. That's why mirroring her emotion is so crucial. It sends a nonverbal message. I'm with you in this moment. You're not trying to control the mood or change it, you're respecting it. And that respect feels like safety. It feels like intimacy. It creates a moment where she doesn't have to explain herself or adjust for you. She can just be, and that's powerful. Let's say she gives you a playful, flirty hug with a little giggle, maybe a nudge or a squeeze. That's not just a hug, it's an invitation to play. If you respond by stiffening up or taking it too seriously, you miss the entire energy of the moment. But if you give her a matching squeeze, a grin, or a light-hearted comment right after, you're saying, I get it, I'm here with you. That emotional synchronicity is attractive. It shows confidence. It shows you're present. It shows you can lead, but also know when to follow her rhythm. There are also moments when her emotion is hard to read. Maybe she's quiet, maybe her hug is brief but intentional. In those moments, your job isn't to assume, it's to observe, feel her energy. Is she tense, tired, thoughtful? Sometimes mirroring her emotion means simply being neutral and allowing space. You don't need to force a response. Just breathe with her. Let your body be still. Let your calmness give her permission to just exist without performance. That silence can be more intimate than any words or gestures. When you master this ability to mirror her emotional tone, you create emotional safety. And safety is the foundation of desire. Contrary to what many believe, attraction isn't just about excitement. It's about emotional presence. When she knows that you can feel her, whether she's happy, sad, playful, or serious, she will naturally crave more of you. Because in you, she doesn't have to explain or hide parts of herself. That's what makes a hug linger in her memory. That's what makes you stay on her mind. It's not about being perfect. It's about being emotionally aware. You don't need to overanalyze or overthink it. Just watch her cues, tune into her tone, her eyes, her breath, and then, with subtlety, match it. Not to manipulate, but to connect. A woman doesn't forget the man who matched her energy with understanding, not assumption. The one who didn't just touch her body, but held her emotions too. When you mirror her emotion with genuine care and intuitive timing, you create a kind of connection that goes far beyond the what sets one hug apart from another isn't the strength of your arms or the length of time you hold her. It's the personal touch you add that transforms an ordinary moment into an unforgettable one. It's the little things, the subtle, intentional gestures that communicate affection, attention, and connection. A personal touch says, "This moment isn't routine to me. It matters. You matter." And that message, spoken without words, can linger in her mind for days, weeks, even longer. Adding a personal touch doesn't mean doing something dramatic or overly intimate. In fact, the most powerful gestures are often the smallest and most natural. It could be the way your hand gently brushes her back as you embrace her, or how your fingers lightly trace her arm for a brief second. Maybe it's the warmth of your breath near her ear when you lean in, followed by a soft, barely audible chuckle. These micro moments, when done with intention and sensitivity, create a depth of feeling that's impossible to fake and impossible to forget. When she hugs you, she's already opening the door to emotional connection. That's your opportunity to meet her energy with something that feels unique to her. It could be as simple as calling her by a nickname, whispering something kind, playful, or deeply sincere. Words don't have to be elaborate. A quiet, "It's really good to see you," or "I've missed this," adds an emotional thread to the physical moment. Even something slightly teasing, like "trying to steal my warmth again," said with a smile, can create a playful bond. The content doesn't matter as much as the timing and the tone. It needs to feel natural, not rehearsed. Scent is another underrated personal touch. The way you smell, whether it's your natural skin, your cologne, or even the subtle scent of clean clothes, will become part of her emotional memory of the moment. If you consistently wear a certain fragrance that suits your personality, it becomes a sensory anchor. The next time she smells it, whether it's on a shirt or out in the world, you'll instantly come to mind. That's not manipulation, it's memory building. Our senses are deeply tied to our emotions, and scent is one of the fastest ways to tap into that. Physical warmth is also key. If you're the kind of person whose body radiates calmness and ease, she'll feel it the moment she's in your arms. A personal touch could be as simple as your breath slowing down during the hug, signaling that you're relaxed and present. That natural rhythm puts her body at ease too. It creates a mutual sense of grounding, a quiet connection where nothing needs to be said because everything is already being felt. Then there are moments when you can add a little flair of uniqueness to your hug. Maybe it's a soft kiss on the top of her head if the relationship allows for that level of intimacy. Maybe it's the way you gently squeeze her once before letting go, as if to say, "I meant that." These are subtle, almost subconscious signals that make her feel like no one else receives the version of you she just experienced. That exclusivity makes her feel special, and feeling special is what sticks. Timing also plays a big role in adding a personal touch. Don't rush to break the hug. Hold the moment, but don't overextend it. Give it space to breathe. Then, as you gently release, add something that extends the emotional connection. A hand lingering on hers for an extra second. A final look into her eyes before you step away. The key is not to cling, but to connect. There's a world of difference between holding on because you're afraid to let go and letting go with grace that still says, "You matter." Personal touches require emotional intelligence. You have to be tuned in. Not every woman wants a whisper in her ear or a kiss on the forehead. That's why awareness is essential. Learn her, feel her, respect the energy she brings. When you tailor your gesture to her, rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach, you make the moment hers. That personalization is what leaves the deepest impact. At the end of the day, what she'll remember is how you made her feel. The warmth, the care, the attention to detail. Anyone can offer a hug, but not everyone offers presence, energy, and emotion all wrapped into one seamless, personal experience. When you add that personal touch, You don't just give her affection, you give her a moment that's hard to forget. And that's exactly how you stay on her mind. Human memory is more closely tied to the senses than we often realize, and two of the most emotionally triggering senses are smell and sound. When you understand how powerful these can be, specifically your scent and your voice, you unlock something deeper in your interactions. Long after a conversation ends or a hug is over, what stays with her is often not what you said or did, but how your presence felt, and much of that feeling is carried through the imprint of your smell and the tone of your voice. These two things alone can keep you echoing in her mind without you even trying. Let's start with scent. A woman may not consciously remember your cologne or soap, but her brain will. The olfactory system, which governs our sense of smell, is directly linked to the limbic system, home of our emotions and memories. That means your scent bypasses logic and goes straight to her emotions. If she hugs you and your smell gives her comfort, excitement, or even just a feeling of cleanliness and warmth, that impression attaches to the moment, and once it's there, it's incredibly hard to forget. A week later, she could pass someone wearing a similar fragrance and suddenly think of you, or pull a shirt out of her drawer and catch your scent still lingering, and with it, the memory of being close to you. But this goes deeper than just cologne. Your personal scent, clean skin, subtle aftershave, the way your clothes smell, becomes part of your signature. It should feel effortless, fresh, inviting, not overpowering. Strong cologne can be distracting, but the right amount, when chosen well, becomes magnetic. The key is to find a scent that complements your energy, something warm, smooth, maybe a little bold, but not loud. When she leans in for a hug and that scent envelops her, you've already made a silent emotional impact. She may not comment on it, but she feels it, and she stores it. Now, let's talk about your voice. The tone of your voice is another powerful emotional anchor. It's not about what you say, it's how you say it. The rhythm, the calmness, the depth or warmth in your voice can completely shape how a woman experiences your presence. During a hug, a soft, low, grounded voice can be incredibly comforting. A simple, "Hey, it's good to see you," spoken with sincerity and emotional softness, can leave a mark far stronger than any romantic line. If your voice is relaxed, it helps her relax. If it carries intention and warmth, she feels emotionally safe, even if you're not speaking at all. It's the combination of sound and energy. A woman will remember the voice that made her feel calm. She'll replay the sound of your laugh, the cadence of your words, or even a short phrase you whispered. These audio memories can become internal echoes. If she hears something similar later, a phrase you always use, a laugh that sounds like yours, it can trigger the memory of you, along with the emotion you made her feel. And this kind of memory doesn't fade easily. Even in moments of silence, your breath matters. When you're hugging her and she hears the steadiness of your breathing, it gives her a sense of stability. That's sound too. That's rhythm. And rhythm is remembered. When a man's presence is slow, calm, and sure, even through his breath and voice, it tells a woman, "You're safe here. You don't have to rush. You don't have to perform." That's what she remembers, not just you, but how you made her feel in that moment. Smell and voice memory work best when they're tied to positive emotions. That means you're not forcing anything. You're just being present, warm, intentional. When she walks away from the hug, the lingering scent and the tone of your last words follow her. They become emotional bookmarks. And the next time she's alone, or reflecting, or missing something she can't quite name, it's often your scent or your voice that pulls you back into her mind. That's why attention to these two things is essential. You don't need to be the most attractive man in the room. But if your scent makes her feel something, and your voice makes her feel safe, you've already set yourself apart. Because while others are chasing her attention with volume and effort, you're staying with her quietly, invisibly, through the parts of memory most people overlook. And those are the memories that last. A hug is never just about the embrace itself. It's also about how you end it. Most people don't realize that the few seconds right after a hug are just as important, if not more, than the hug itself. That's when the emotional energy is still fresh, still open, and still lingering. It's the perfect time to leave her with something, an energy, a feeling, a thought, that stays with her long after you've gone. Because once you've made her feel something meaningful in that short space of time, she'll start associating you with that feeling. And that's how you live rent-free in her mind. Leaving her with a thought doesn't mean you need to say something profound or rehearsed. In fact, the most powerful impressions are usually subtle, natural, and personal. It could be a soft comment that feels spontaneous, something that gently echoes the mood you just shared. After a hug, maybe you say, "I always feel calm when I'm around you," or "You give really good hugs, you know that?" These aren't big declarations, but they're emotionally intelligent because they mirror her energy and affirm the moment you both just experienced. The key is to speak from a place of grounded presence, not neediness. Don't try to be clever. Don't try to impress. Just be real. What's one small, meaningful thing you could say that will stick with her? Even a simple, "This moment made my day," can land deeply when delivered with sincerity. That statement turns an ordinary goodbye into a lasting emotional memory. Why? Because most people rush through moments. They don't pause to notice how something feels. But when you do, and you name it, she feels seen. And feeling seen is what creates connection. It's not always about words either. Sometimes, leaving her with a thought can be as simple as a look, eye contact that lingers just a second longer, a smile that says more than a sentence could, a gentle touch on the arm as you pull away. These are small gestures, but they carry weight when they're done with intention. When you combine body language with energy and a well-timed phrase, it sends a message. This wasn't just a hug, this was something meaningful, and I noticed it. There's also beauty in mystery. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can leave her with is curiosity. Maybe you say something like, "You have this energy about you. It's hard to describe, but it stays with me." That kind of comment doesn't try to explain too much. It simply plants a seed, and people always revisit what they don't fully understand. She'll think about it later, wondering what you meant, replaying the moment, trying to interpret your words. That's how emotional hooks are created, not through force, but through mystery and meaning. Another powerful way to leave her with a thought is by anchoring the moment to a shared feeling or experience. For example, if you hugged after laughing together, you might say, "I haven't laughed like that in a while. You're good for the soul." Or after a quiet, comforting hug, something like, "You're the kind of peace most people don't even know they need." These phrases do more than flatter. They reflect back the emotion she just gave you, and that makes her feel emotionally valued. It's also important to recognize the context. If you're in a new connection, keep your comments light but meaningful. In a deeper relationship, don't be afraid to say something with more vulnerability. Timing and tone matter. You're not trying to win her over in that moment. You're simply letting her know that this interaction left an impression on you. When a woman feels that she's impacted you, truly emotionally impacted you, she starts to see you differently. You're no longer just present. You're now associated with emotional depth. The most lasting connections are built on how people make each other feel. After a hug, you have a small window to leave her with a thought that links you to a feeling: calm, joy, intimacy, safety, curiosity. So when she walks away, she doesn't just remember that she hugged you. She remembers that something stirred inside her in those few seconds after. And the thought you left behind, that becomes the echo. The thing she replays when she's alone. The reason she starts to miss your presence without fully knowing why. This is where the emotional imprint is made. Not through grand gestures, not through seduction or strategy, but through small, conscious acts that say, "This moment mattered. That's what stays. That's what lasts. And that's how you stay on her mind, long after the moment has passed. When it comes to making a lasting impression, it's never about doing the most. It's about being deeply present in the smallest moments. A hug might seem simple, but when done with awareness, intention, and emotional intelligence, it becomes a powerful language of connection, from understanding the type of hug she gives to mirroring her emotions, adding personal touches, mastering timing, and leaving her with a lingering thought. Every detail carries meaning. Your body language, your scent, your voice, all of it weaves together an experience she won't forget. Because ultimately, it's not about what you said or how tightly you held her, it's about how you made her feel. And when a woman feels safe, seen, and emotionally touched in your presence, she won't just remember you, she'll crave you. That is how you stay on her mind forever.